So what we're going to do is we're going to go through just one of the columns, one track, and it's the career track, which is about money. And that's relevant to you because you are in the startup world and you've identified that you would like to generate personal wealth, which is not at all uncommon. So
Mm.
if someone's got the same idea, if someone's thinking, generating some wealth is really the most important thing to me, where do they start with your framework?
So when you go down this particular money track, it's called money, but it could be wealth. It could be lots of different things that kind of exist in it. But essentially, people that come out and think a tech career, I want to go into that because I want to get rich. What
Hmm.
does that look like? How do you achieve that? So one of the first basic questions that's kind of added to this is around risk appetite. And this is really, really important because, different levels of risk appetite open or close different doors. This has got to be something you're proud of because this has got to be something that gives you energy, not something that stresses you out and ends up with loads of sleepless nights and all your hair goes grey. So it's important to get the right mix and to make sure that you do get this energy from it instead of it kind of pulling you down. So depending on that, there's a couple of different options where you can kind of end up going into big tech. Where there's some big salaries knocking about. If you kind of look up, very, very poignant with what's going on in the industry with AI at the moment, you look at Anthropic's job roles at the moment, you can see those are exceptionally high for the space. You can also go deeper into being very deep into a specific specialism. So you kind of become that industry expert in a particular space. And then you kind of write different stuff with people, you end up being the expert. Or you can go down another route and build your own startup, which kind of takes quite a big risk appetite, but some people absolutely love it, and some people get lots of energy from it.
Yeah. So you've got these eventual destinations.
Mm.
And when you say I'd like to make money, it's not just one way, right? There are lots of
Yeah,
different options. And as you say, the risk appetite, if you go and join a startup, potentially very lucrative, but equally you could be flat broke in 7 months and the
yeah,
company could go out of business. That's the nature of the business. So
yeah.
people are going to ask themselves questions about their risk appetite and a few other things. And then they will narrow down on one of the routes. Now let's pick the startup route because that's where you're at. What next?
So when you go down that startup route, I think, as I said at the beginning, there is a mix here. And I think very particular to this startup route, it's also quite linked to the impact you want to make. Because startups aren't just about making lots of money. I heard a stat once that said that the probability of robbing a bank and getting away with it is infinitely higher than your startup being a success. If you
I'll
just
go. I'll go and give it a go this afternoon. Let's see how that goes.
yeah. So yeah, you're not, the chances and the statistics are against you just for going to start up just to make money. You need to have a really good problem that you understand. You need to be passionate about that problem, and you need to have the curiosity and have the energy to become an expert in that space so that you can really understand it and make something of it, and also gain lots of pride and lots of energy, intrinsically from the fact that you're solving that for people. So, to your question around kind of what's the next steps after that, the superpowers that are kind of underneath this particular track, it goes down to risk appetite as well. 1 in 10 startups succeed, and 9 out of 10 of them fail. So, therefore, there's a very high failure rate here. Therefore, if you are quite loss averse, if you have quite a low risk appetite, this might not be a route for you. But if you haven't, that's this exciting thing. This is high stakes career strategy right here. The other thing you need is really strong decision making. You need to be able to make judgment calls. Sometimes you won't have all the data that's there. Sometimes you won't have a full set of information to make the best decision, but you've got to be able to make the best decision at the time with the information you have, because this is what keeps things going. This is how you keep moving forward. Once you get after the kind of initial startup phases, building people around you, whether that's advisors, whether that's board members, whether that's investors, whether that's staff around you, being able to lead other people in that direction, inspire other people is the other key thing that you need here. So a really good sense of leadership, understanding people, aligning people with what they what you're trying to achieve, and making sure that gives them the energy as well. And then the last of many, but I just kind of kept it to four for this particular example, is patience, research skills, never stop researching and trying to find out what that underlying problem is. Because especially in tech, when you come from a technical background, it's very easy to just build stuff, but that's not the point here. Technology is a tool to be able to solve the problem, not just be something in itself. So it's that whole, if you have a hammer, everything's in there. It looks like a nail problem.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. You see a lot of technical people building technology for the sake of building technology, and they lose track of anything to do with the customer or even anything to do with being a business. They never turn a penny. And of course, we're talking here about it. It sounds to me like you're saying this is if that's what appeals to you, you may start your own startup. But of course, you could also join a startup at
Yeah.
different stages, either as a founder or one of the early employees, or even when it's a couple of years in. And there will be different decision points which point you towards which one you're going to go for.